What's up, everybody? Welcome to Divas3 Raw TV. Today we're going to talk about different relationship problems that, let me shut this message off here, fix this fucking camera angle. I get emails all the time about relationship issues, relationships, and I actually got one recently that was like, Jerry, did you really think about what was the demise of yours and Kari's relationship? Now, here's the thing. There are times when people grow apart, and I think nowadays it happens more than ever, and they part ways, with divorce rate being like 80% now, which is ridiculous. But nowadays people don't try to force something if they see themselves going in different directions. They don't try to be something that they're not anymore. My parents are still together. I know very few people's parents are still together. But there are many unhappy people from that generation that stuck it out. I mean, they're happy now. They've had good and bad times, whatever the case may be, but they kind of forced things together because they made a commitment and they stuck with it. Now, for some people, they dealt with it and they're okay. Some people are miserable about it. But the thing is if you're heading down two different directions and you force it, eventually at some point, one of the parties is going to hold it against the other person, period. Or if you give up something for that person that you don't really want to give up, eventually you're going to hold that against the person too, without a doubt. Now, there's times where I remember stepping back, and when you first get together in a relationship, you're much more apt to go out of your way. Like, you'll sit on the couch with the new girlfriend, and you're watching a movie on Netflix or whatever, and you get your arm like around her, and then your fucking arm goes to sleep, and you're like, God damn, I can't feel my hand, and your hand's like, and you can't feel anything, and you're like, fuck it, it doesn't matter, and you just leave it there. And like 2 hours later, you're looking, your fucking fingertips are purple, and you still can't feel it, but you're just happy to be there with her, got your arm around her. Now, fast forward 2 years into a relationship, you're sitting there watching Netflix, your arm starts to go to sleep, you're like, oh, babe, my arm's asleep, and you take it off. Now, those may not seem like big things to some people, but that's the change in the relationship. It's a change in the way that you're thinking about things, the way that you're acting. There are times where you may go way out of your way. Like, let's say the girl that you're dating after a month calls you and says, I'm stuck, whatever, on the side of the road, flat tire, I don't know what to do. You're like, okay. You go up to your boss and you're like, look, I know I'm at work, but here's the situation. I need to go because my girlfriend needs help. She's on the side of the road. There's dinosaurs chasing her, all that shit. Like, you just get out of there, do anything you can to get out of there. Fast forward 2 years, and you get that phone call where she's on the side of the road, and you call AAA and send them. Because it's not that you can't be bothered, but it's different. So what I would try to do is step back. And I remember this with Kari too, when she would say stuff like, oh wow, that's really nice of you. And I would say to her flat out, well, I would do that when we first got together, so why wouldn't I do it now? I would remind myself to do the things, those little things, or try to do the little things. I mean, of course, things slip through the cracks and not everything got done. But try to remind myself that I would do this for her when we first got together. Why? Because I love her. Because I loved her then, I love her now. And if I don't do it, I'm just taking it for granted now that she's just there. She's going to be there, like, oh, I already won her and she's not going anywhere, so I don't have to do that stuff anymore. That's usually what happens. I mean, even if you don't consciously realize that you're doing that, there are going to be times in a relationship where you are just comfortable. You don't have to drive to go help her change a tire. You don't have to let your arm go to sleep. But if you put it upon yourself to do those things anyways, not only is she going to appreciate it, but it makes you feel like when you first met too. It keeps that, I guess that, I don't know if it's romance or spark, whatever the fuck it would be, but it keeps that feeling of when you met earlier on kind of going. And as long as you guys are on the same page, that's a good thing to have. Both parties appreciate it. Once you start going down the wrong, not the wrong, but different ways, and be very honest with yourself too. If you see yourself, for instance, let's say, you don't want kids and she wants kids. And you're like, oh, don't worry about it, whatever. And you're together for like 5 years, whatever. And you're saying stuff like, oh, no kids. And she's like, well, I want kids. And then it kind of just, you guys kind of just not argue about it, kind of blow it off or whatever. What do you think's going to happen later on? If there's conflicting, issues and wants, I was watching a TV show, fucking Divas, total Divas. Of course it's scripted and shit. John Cena, doesn't want kids, doesn't want to be married, and his girlfriend, Brie or Nikki, like Nikki Bella, one of the Bella twins. He doesn't want to marry her. What the fuck? Anyways, she wants kids, she wants to be married, stuff like that. And they made that storyline specifically because that's a big thing in people's lives. People go through that all the time. you know, big decisions and big differences that right now in the moment, this second, and for like the next couple of years may not matter. But 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, those things come up, they weren't dealt with in the beginning, and they usually ruin the relationship later on. So I think it's super important to be totally honest with yourself from the beginning. Be honest with whoever you're involved with from the beginning. I mean, totally honest. Be brutally honest. If you're like, look, you know, like you start dating this girl and, you know, things are getting serious and you're like, she could be the one, you know, and she's feeling the same way about you, you don't want kids, you need to just straight up be like, look, I don't want kids. Is that a problem for you? Like, flat out. Let her know flat out. Let her deal with it on her own, deal with it with you, whatever the case may be. But, you know, eventually, you know, you can't live your life for someone else. You have to live it for you, but you also have to go that extra mile in a relationship where, you know, you're kind of going out of your way for the other person. You know, the two things that I think, or the three things that ruin relationships are money issues, taking the other person for granted, and communication. Those three things are going to ruin a relationship. And I'm not even sure nowadays that you're supposed to have a relationship with one person for the rest of your life, because everybody changes. I'm definitely not the same guy that I was when I met Kari. Kari's not the same woman that I met back then. We've both, you know, evolved. And I'm not saying that we went backwards or we're doing worse. We're completely new people, you know, years later. And the more that I talk to people, I talked to a few people about it when I was going through it, and they were in long-term relationships. One was like married for like 15 years and was with his girl for like 17 or 18 years, you know, including the marriage, and then just they grew apart, but they had to be honest with themselves and each other. Neither one of them wanted to hold each other back. So I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a fucking counselor, but I have been through a lot of stuff, and I do know that, you know, in the end, you just got to be honest, period. Bios3training@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.bios3training.com is a blog. So just be honest, bicep, and we're out.